What bridge is it? Paul, what bridge is this? Paul, what bridge?
911, where's your emergency?
We're in the boat.
Okay.
We have someone missing.
Okay. Hang on 1 second.
Think about me one more time before you go. Someday you'll know. Someday you'll know. You know what I'm going to say? I've been feeling this way for far too long. And now you're gone.
On February 24th, 2019, a boat crash on Archer's Creek in South Carolina took the life of Mallory Madison Beach, who at the time was only 19 years old.
What bridge is it? Paul, what bridge is this?
Hey, I'm with Department of Natural Resources. Who was driving the boat?
Crash out 67.
The last time I grabbed my girlfriend and got down in the bottom of the boat, Paul was driving.
Paul was driving?
Yes. I begged and begged and begged and begged to let me drive.
1 second.
Uh-huh. And where were y'all coming from?
Paul.
Huh?
Paulky.
Palky? Okay. And Paul was driving, not Connor?
Someday you'll know.
Hi guys, welcome back to Watch the Obsession live stream and chat, discussing now the, Alec Murdaugh double homicide case, and as you know, a sub topic of that, the boating accident that involved Paul Murdaugh and 6 passengers back in 2019, which is going to be the primary topic of this live stream tonight. However, both cases really come together, in my opinion. I've been following this case, for a long time, but in a very concentrated way since this trial started this year, where Alec Murdaugh was just found guilty of the murders of his wife, Maggie, and his son, Paul. Haven't done any content on it because I've just been really taking it in, and that's been kind of awesome. But I personally actually have a theory based on psychology, and I'm going to explain that to you. But I think that so many pieces of the puzzle that are available to us need to be put together so you can see how that theory is built, and that, in my opinion, it's accurate. So welcome everybody. And Jeannie Ramsey, did I hear it's your birthday? Happy birthday. Awesome. I'm so glad that you're with us. Thank you so much for everything, and happy birthday, darling. I hope you have a wonderful year. Hey, Skittles and Riddles 88, how are you doing? Welcome to Watch the Obsession live stream and chat. Hi, is it Diddy? Welcome, glad you're here. And Gregory Worth, my friend, I love your comments so much. If you ever get a chance, guys, if you're checking out one of my videos, always read Gregory Worth's comments. They're really well developed, thought out, and he's just really, really bright. He has good things to say, as do most of you. Hi, Tony B, sweetheart. How are you doing? Great to see you. Hi, Melissa. How are you doing? Hi, Green-Eyed Bandit. Great to see you as well. And hey, MB Gal, how's it going? Nice to see you. I was just thinking about you the other day, believe it or not. I'll tell you why maybe later. Hey, Kate Braze. How are you doing? Great to see you, my friend. I hope things are going well. Let's see who else is here. American Princess, how are you doing? Always love reading your comments too, sweetheart. And let me just go up a little bit. Oh, hey, Skittles and Riddles. Thank you so much for becoming a member. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you supporting the channel. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Welcome. And hey, Nikki Hatfield, how's it going? And let's see, Tara Robertson, how are you doing? Justice for Mallory. Absolutely. I totally agree. You know, I think now, especially since Alec Murdaugh has been found guilty in the trial of the murder of his wife and his son, to me, really the most important issue definitely is justice for Mallory. I think that, you know, her death, you know, happened in 2019, and so many things involving the Murdaugh family and Alec Murdaugh, and they're always so big and so dramatic. I think in some ways, you know, her death was not given as much attention by, you know, people other than those in her family, those are close to her, as it would have been otherwise if Paul Murdaugh wasn't such a larger than life character, right? So yeah. Did I say hi, Nikki Hatfield? I think I did. How are you doing? Welcome. And hi, McCurtis J. Hope you're still here. And Lauren Q. And welcome to everybody who just came in. It's great to see you guys. So let's see here. Oops. Let's see. Misha, how are you doing? Okay. Well, okay, so I'm gonna post this actually. So, hey Misha, and welcome. Nice to see you. You always can express your opinion on this channel. We like for people to be able to say what's on their mind and have a respectful environment. So just don't ever worry about that. Just, you know, like everybody ought to be respectful to you. You know, we just ask the same of everyone else. So Misha says, unpopular opinion. I'm sorry if it sounds disrespectful because it's not meant to be, I think, you know. But those other kids decided for themselves, I think is what you meant, to get on the boat with two people who they knew were driving it incredibly inebriated. Yeah, you know, I mean, that is a valid point, you know, and these thoughts definitely cross my mind, and people comment saying things like that. And I just, my thought always goes to their kids. You know, they were all under 21. They really are kids. So, you know, think about yourself when you're a kid and the kind of decisions you make. And something that fact that I cite on this channel often with my, you know, background education being in psychology is we know that the human brain doesn't finish developing until a person is around 25 or 26. And that part of the brain that's responsible for sound decision making is the last part of the brain to develop. So we just do need to keep that in mind. But I mean, it is a valid point, and thank you for expressing your opinion. I appreciate it. And I think others do too. Oh, hey, thank you so much. Oh, hey, I appreciate this. Kelly's so sweet and friendly. I love that she is so soft-spoken and caring. You're an awesome girl. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Melissa. That means a lot to me. Appreciate that. Thank you, darling. Let's see. Yeah, and Jeannie Ramsey just kind of echoed what I said to Misha. That's not disrespectful. Even Anthony said he shouldn't have gotten on there. And I'm sure, you know, their survivors, of course, all regret it now. And gosh, I mean, decisions that I made when I was that age that had far less grave consequences, I absolutely, you know, regret to this day or regretted at the time. And so I get what you're saying, Misha. Yeah. Yeah. And thank you, Gregory. Absolutely. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So Jeannie Ramsey says, the only justice left is the money Connor already settled. The Beach family settled with Buster for the proceeds of Moselle. That's right. So there was a settlement with Connor Cook, and we're actually going to take a look at those court documents today because they are very relevant in the topic at hand, which is the boating accident. And, you know, in my opinion, how the boating accident fits into the larger picture of these horrific crimes that were committed by Alec Murdaugh. And ultimately, we want, in my opinion, justice for Mallory. And also, I've been, you know, it's been really important to me to find a sound theory of a motive of why in the world Alec Murdaugh would murder his wife and his son. It's just so crazy, right? And we're going to discuss that too. So let's see. Hi, Nora, Grandma. How are you doing? Welcome. Here. Yeah. Nora's grandmother says, I wonder if the bar was fined or if they had any kind of repercussions for serving the kids alcohol. Well, we know that Paul Murdaugh was using his brother Buster's ID and, just their really bold red hair. I think that, somebody looking at an ID, they'd either say, oh, I'm going to let that pass, or they would just think that it is him, so, I know that laws are different from state to state regarding serving minors, especially if that minor does present a, reasonably legitimate identification stating that they are of age. I don't know that they did. I don't think that they did, but it is good. It is a good question. Oh, worry about your kids 24/7. I know it's hard. All right, so yeah. Jeannie Ramsey says, and Jeannie Ramsey is always a great source for all kinds of facts. And Jeannie Ramsey, it's your birthday. I want to catch you after this on your birthday, but like for real, let's definitely talk tomorrow. Jeannie helps me out with some things because she's brilliant. And Jeannie says the lawyer is suing Parker's and the bar. So Parker's is the store where Paul Murdaugh bought the Natty Light and the White Claw alcoholic seltzer and the something else. It's in my video. Bought another alcoholic beverage. It's a total of about I think 40 cans of beer or something like that. So Stevie, hi Stevie, how are you? How's it going? Yes, bunnies everywhere. Can you hear them? Hi Debbie, how are you doing? Debbie said Tinsley sued everyone. Tinsley did sue everyone. Yeah. And I think that there was a lot of blame to go around. What do you think about that, Debbie? Do you think that Tinsley overdid it? Hi, Maddie. Maddie's here. How's it going? Nice to see you. Hello, friends. Hi. Hi, Kathy Baker. How's it going? Welcome. Nice to see you. Hey, Midge. Awesome. Great to see you as well. Glad you set your alarm. So for anybody that doesn't get the notifications for this channel, if you do want to, I try to send out an email before I do live streams, like a day before, a few hours before. If you do want to get on that email so you know what's coming up, please email me at WattsObsession, putting in chat right now, at gmail.com. And then you'll have a better chance of knowing when we're going live. I haven't been live in a while, so I know people haven't necessarily been looking for it. So I hope people do find us, and I'm so glad that you guys are here. So let me, I'm waiting for something to upload here, but I do want to get started looking at things here. So let's see, which one is this? All right, so let me bring this into the stream here. Hope everyone's doing really awesome. It is, gosh, I feel like I haven't done a live stream in a while. I feel like I haven't seen or communicated with any of you guys. But I hope everyone's happy and healthy and just doing really well. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to move past the intro. Now, if you did watch the video that I uploaded yesterday, Murdaugh boat crash timeline, what happened that night, some of this is going to look a little similar. It's not the same content, so don't worry. What I wanted to do in putting out that video, and we're going to talk about that a little here, is to establish what the official timeline was as far as what investigators put out, what the legal discovery put out. And then we are going to see, according to basically everyone's account, that official timeline of events is super inaccurate. Oh, man. Okay, let me bring this into the stream here. Welcome, everybody that just came in. Nice to see you. Hi, John McSmith. How are you doing? Hi, Rockaways. How's it going? Nice to see you guys. Welcome. All of our true crime friends and family. So good to see you. Oh, wait. Oh, I almost grabbed the baby bunny for you. Come here, baby. too fast. Too fast. I'll get them later. Okay. All right.
A boat crash on Archer's Creek in South Carolina.
Let me get back to the beginning of that sentence there. Okay.
Hang on one second, okay? On February 24th, 2019, a boat crash on Archer's Creek in South Carolina took the life of Mallory Madison Beach, who at the time was only 19 years old. On the boat that night were 3 couples.
I agree, K-Braze. Absolutely. That's exactly where we're going. Yep.
Paul Murdaugh and his girlfriend Morgan Dowdy, Miley Altman, boyfriend Connor Cook, and his cousin Anthony Cook and his girlfriend Mallory Beach. The group of friends had been boating on Archer's Creek when the boat crashed into a bridge piling, throwing everyone on board into the water. Miley Altman, pictured here, was one of the 6 passengers on the boat that night, and she was lucky enough to survive the accident. Since the accident, Miley has kept a low profile and has not spoken publicly about the incident. However, her name has been mentioned in the media over the past few years, particularly as the investigation into the accident had continued. People are more interested than ever to hear from Miley herself.
Paul was just driving and doing donuts, and we're not going anywhere. We're just doing circles, and Morgan gets mad and yells at him and was like, listen, you need to stop. I want to go home.
Morgan Dougherty was Paul Murdaugh's girlfriend at the time of the boating accident, and she was one of the 6 passengers on the boat who was ejected from the boat when it crashed into the bridge pilings. Morgan Dougherty recently gave a revealing look into the relationship she had with Paul Murdaugh, including his drinking habits, that seemed to be the root of many troubles for the couple.
It's very normal for them to be drinking and just have a lot of alcohol, always stocked in the house.
Morgan places a lot of emphasis on the extent of Paul Murdaugh's troubles with alcohol, as do several of his other friends.
Alcohol definitely changed Paul. We called Paul Timmy when he was drunk.
We were just anything is better than Paul right now, because who knows what he would do. Because he was riding close to sailboats that were parked and just being very reckless.
Testimony was Mallory asked to be let off, but it comes a point where there's no place to get off, and he wouldn't stop and wouldn't let anybody else drive.
What bridge is it? Paul, what bridge is this? Paul, what bridge?
911, where's your emergency? Hello? Police service? Hello?
We're in a boat crash on Arthur Street.
Whereabouts on Archer Street? Hello, are you at the dock?
No, we just crashed in a boat.
Okay, are you in the water or are you?
We're in the boat.
Okay.
We have someone missing.
Okay. Hang on one second, okay? The voice of the man who made the 911 call alerting authorities to the boat crash was that of Connor Cook, who at the time was Miley Altman's boyfriend and friend of Paul Murdaugh. Connor Cook can be spotted on security camera footage with Paul Murdaugh at a bar called Luther's Rare and Well Done around 12:55 a.m. while they docked for a second time on their journey home from their night out. As you'll see in this security camera footage here, you can see Paul leaning over the bar and both young men shots. We'll return to this scene in a little bit, but first, let's go over the entirety of the timeline from that evening. The South Carolina Department of Natural Resources released a document that outlaid the timeline for the entire evening in great detail. The timeline starts at 5:30 p.m. at Parker's in Ridgeland. Paul Murdaugh, age 20 at the time, drove a white pickup truck with a bow in tow to Parker's gas station in Ridgeland on the afternoon of Friday, February 23rd, 2019. He walked in the store and picked up a 6-pack of Michelob Ultra beers and a 12-pack of White Claw seltzers and a 15-pack of Natural Light beers.
Murdaugh exited the store minutes later and walked out to his truck. Noticing a friend had pulled up next to his car in the parking lot, Murdaugh triumphantly hoisted the new score of booze over his head, as the footage here shows. Next event in the timeline is at 6:36 p.m. at the River House. So this is referring to the Murdaugh family's River House. And according to the timeline of events, all 6 of the passengers of the boat, Miley Altman, Anthony Cook, Connor Cook, Morgan Doherty, Mallory Beach, and Paul Murdaugh, met at the Murdaugh River House, which, by the way, is a $1.45 million property owned by the Murdaugh's grandfather on the creek, and it's less than 2 miles from Parker's. Court filings in the wrongful death suit filed by Mallory Beach's mother refer to this property as, quote, the island, end quote. The filings say the group of young adults started drinking there at the Murdaugh residence. At 7:07 p.m., the 6 young adults all boarded the 17-foot boat named the Sea Hunt, which is owned by Paul Murdaugh's father, Alec Murdaugh, and they left for an oyster roast on Pawkey Island, and it's nearly 20 miles away from the island residence. The next event on the timeline brings us to 8 Pawkey Island. Christy Wood, who is a school principal in Hampton County where the Murdaughs lived, and her husband hosted an oyster roast for what they refer to as friends and family. The bring own booze for those Paul who are all underage arrived part amounts except a host account. They drank a lot. Paul Murdaugh and his friends left after midnight, so they were there for over 4 hours. The next event on the timeline brings us to 12:11 a.m. at the Beaufort River. The timeline of events is based on the boat's GPS. The timeline shows the group of 6 young adults getting on the boat at Pawkey Island and Beaufort dots, end quote. And this is Miley Altman's bring to the time at 2:35 a.m. In Morgan Doherty's statement, she said that Connor Cook had to take the wheel because Paul Murdaugh was going to hitch. GPS coordinates show that the group arrived at the day dock in downtown Beaufort 12:39 a.m. 1 minute later, the group pushed off from the dock, traveling back into the river, according to the course from the GPS navigation system. 4 minutes later, at 12:44 a.m., the boat arrived back for a second time and docked there, exited the boat. This brings us to the next timeline event at 12:55 a.m. at Luther's Rare and Well Done Bar. Once the group docked the boat for a second time, they all split up and to Luther's finish. Miley Altman says yet to not go in. The other 4 pitted on the swings at a waterfront park. Once inside Luther's Rare and Well Done, Paul Murdaugh and Connor Cook ordered shots of Jägermeister and shots of Lemon Drop, which is a vodka mix shot. Miley Altman said that she and Doherty
went to the bar to get Paul Murdaugh and Connor Cook. According to Miley Altman, Murdaugh knocked down a chair at the bar, and another person joked and said, "Hey, what did that chair ever do to you?" She says, as Paul walked away, he looked at Connor and said, "What did he say to me?" And according to Miley's statement, Paul Murdaugh turned back around and asked the guy if he had a problem with him. Connor Cook had to hold Paul Murdaugh back and bring him back to the boat to prevent him from getting into a fight, says Miley Altman. Morgan Dougherty says, when Paul and Connor came out of the bar, I could tell how intoxicated they both were. The next event on the timeline brings us to 1:13 a.m. at the Beaufort River. The seven adults got back to the boat and left dock at 1:13 a.m. according to the timeline. They traveled south towards Port Royal Sound in the direction of the Murdaughs River house. According to Miley Altman, Murdaugh was in the boat. Anthony Cook sat in the back of the boat. Connor Cook, she said, stood on the right side of the boat. Miley Altman said that Morgan Dougherty began to notice the boat was traveling in circles. Miley Altman states, "We all got irritated first and fed up and told Paul to let someone else drive." She said she yelled at Paul Murdaugh to let Connor drive. Paul, quote, got aggressive and yelled back that it was his boat. Morgan Dougherty says Paul drove almost all the way to the Port Royal, and from there we begged Connor to drive. My Altman statement says that Connor Cook and Paul Murdaugh switched off driving around this time. According to the official timeline, go down at 12:20 and moved to the front of the boat to argue with Morgan Dougherty. Paul Murdaugh, according to Morgan, says he got close to my face, screaming, cussing, and saying horrible things. Miley Altman said she saw Morgan Dougherty push her boyfriend away and say, "What, are you going to hit me? Like you have all those times before?"
Okay, I'm going to stop there. All right, sorry. I was just trying to log into my Netflix account on my computer. I never watch Netflix on my computer. I always watch it on my TV. So I'm just going to, Jeannie was mentioning Netflix. A few of you were mentioning the Netflix special. It's really good. I don't know if you guys have seen it. For those of you who haven't seen it, I would totally suggest watching it. I think it's really well done, and it gives a perspective of Miley and Morgan and of all of the passengers of the boat. And all of their stories, to me, seem very authentic, very sincere. They're very earnest. All their stories really corroborate one another. And, well, just let's hear from them. I'm just going to play a short little part of it. And I'll probably get copyright for this, but I don't care. I want you guys to be able to hear this. And that's not the end of the world. So how many of you guys have seen the Netflix special? If you can just put in chat that you did or didn't. Yeah, saw it. No, didn't see it. It's really well done. Really, really well done, I think. I'd like to know what you guys think. Are they gonna let me share it? I'm gonna try. Okay. So this is episode 2. So episode 1, they just talked about what happened leading up to the boat accident, what happened, during the accident, and the immediate aftermath, like the 911 call, about there when Anthony Cook was sitting in the detective's car and he was talking to him and he was very forthcoming. And he did state that Paul Murdaugh was in fact driving. All of the passengers stated that. And we know from Mallory Beach's family's attorney's recreation, I've done a lot of research into the validity of that recreation using like a scientific method. Is it valid? Is it reliable? Are the results accurate? check, 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 all of those things. In my opinion, the study that Mallory Beach's attorney did that showed exactly where each passenger was in the boat is like spot on.
It must have been about 4 o'clock in the morning. I got a call.
So this is Mallory Beach's mother.
There had been a boating accident in the Beaufort Memorial Hospital. But
get a phone call, and it was Mallory's mom screaming. What I got that morning was there was a phone call that had always shown any other parent. Just telling myself that this is through us. I'm just focused on getting there, the Beaufort. I couldn't think straight.
we still had no idea where we were going. We were just headed to Beaufort. I didn't want to go to the hospital because I knew Mallory wasn't there. We pulled over and we're, where are we supposed to go?
Guys, is the audio better now? I'm sorry, I didn't see those comments. Is the audio okay? Let me see. Hi, Glenn Jamin. How are you doing? Hi, Becky Boo. How's it going? She ran Calling Wildfire. What an awesome name. Just want to make sure that the audio is better here. It's still breaking up badly. It's probably, I think it's because I have Netflix on. I'm going to have to close it. Okay. All right. I had to close Netflix. I think that's why. Sorry about that, guys. Hopefully it'll be better. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to get to the point here, not watching specifically Netflix, which I probably shouldn't really be playing anyway. But if you have the opportunity to watch it, I think you should. It's really good. Let's see here. Let me just navigate to the right spot. And then I also want to show you, I put up on a community post the other day, asked the question, do people think that, well, here's the question. Do you believe that Alex Murdaugh, well, let me share with you first. All right. Too big. Too big. All right. Do you believe that Alex Murdaugh murdered his son Paul and wife Maggie in an attempt to cover up some of the financial crimes he had committed or to avoid exposing his crimes through Paul Murdaugh's trial on matters related to Mallory Beach's tragic death? Mallory Beach was one of 6 passengers in the boat accident. And so 716 people responded. And 63% of you said, yes, he killed them to cover up his financial crimes. 26% said, no, he killed them for other reasons. And 10% said, Alex Murdaugh is innocent. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I think, like, in my opinion, that was, kind of would have thought people would say in response to that question. But I always think that these community polls are very interesting. So Pride or Honesty, my friend and one of the channel moderators here says, yes, to keep his secret, which raises 2 important questions. Why didn't he kill Buster? Who was the second shooter? I'll leave it at that. So, what he's referring to is during the trial, as some of you may know, there were different testimonies regarding the ballistics evidence and different opinions on whether or not there were 2 shooters or not, basically. And oh my gosh, the last witness for the prosecution, who was Deputy Kenneth, is it Kinney or Kinsley, we're going to take a look at it, was absolutely amazing. Now, interestingly, there was a motion filed by Paul Murdaugh, his attorneys, on behalf of Paul Murdaugh, trying to repress that testimony that they knew would go directly against their ballistic experts' testimony, saying, oh, well, there was definitely 2 shooters, right? And if you didn't watch this part of the trial, they claimed that the 2 shooters were between, what was it, 5'2" and 5'4". That's so short. I'm 5'6". It's like a couple inches shorter than me, you know? It's really short. And I'm sorry, the defense knew that the prosecution's ballistic expert was going to directly go against everything their paid expert said. Well, all the experts were paid. The defense's expert was paid an exorbitant amount of money. I can't remember exactly what it was. They actually mentioned it in the trial. Let's see. Hold it. Motion to. Let me just find this document. Oh my gosh, there's so many. Oh my God, which one is it? I'm going to keep playing this video and then I'm going to find out. I'll bring it right back to you. Oops. Here we go. Okay. Oh yeah. Yeah, I uploaded something. It had like 5 seconds of the Netflix video on it and it got copyrighted. Which of course that's going to happen, but it's cool. All right. Alrighty. All right, here we go. Oops, I wish Kevin was here, or no, who is it? Edward was here. He would know who to blame for that. Here, I get to the end videos here. All right. Okay, here's some of. I think this is from the Netflix video. Yeah, got it anyway. All right.
You all know Alec Murdaugh.
Parking lot, Murdaugh triumphantly hoisted the new score of booze over his head, as the footage here showed.
Why does it have to be the one person that I did everything with?
He would have given anything to protect her.
Everyone was like, Paul, don't drive. And Paul would snap back and be like, well, this is my fucking boat.
He was Alexander. You all know Alec Murdaugh? That's his son. I heard a scream.
Oh, what bridge is this?
And then that's when we all started screaming for Mallory.
Alec wasn't worried about finding Mallory.
He wanted to make sure that lips were sealed.
They were more worried about a cover-up.
5 made it ashore alive. Mallory Beach did not.
Paul had been receiving threats from strangers.
He was scared.
Speculation is running wild.
For over a century, the Murdaughs were slaughtered here in the 40s.
Was under increasing amount of stress.
You said Paul took your phone to call his granddad. Did he say why? Why did he call his dad, or what was there?
Well, because they're lawyers and stuff, and he wanted him to be there first. He just called his granddad because that's what he does in everything.
Is his dad a lawyer?
Yes. Yeah.
But he didn't want to call his dad.
He just wanted to call his granddad. He just kept on asking for a phone when we were in there. He just would not leave anybody alone about having a phone to call somebody. I think at that point he wanted to call his dad, but he called his granddad first. That's the first thing he did, Patrick.
So this is an important point here that, she's saying that he didn't call his dad. He's talking about Paul Murdaugh. He called his grandfather first. Now, in the Netflix series especially, I know that several of the other passengers or Paul Murdaugh's friends make this point that not only in this instance, but in other times when Paul Murdaugh got himself in trouble, this is how things would go. He would call his grandfather, who's Alex Murdaugh's father, the grandfather they call Handsome. And then the grandfather, and he's the one who passed away 3 days after Maggie and Paul were murdered. And then the grandfather would in turn call Alec and whoever else he needed to organize to clean up Paul's mess. And they all say that's how it would go every time. So things happen just the same in this incident. After the boating accident, Paul makes one call. Who's it to? His grandfather. Grandpa cleaned it up, right?
The next time I was out, he was everything to call my granddad. Because that's the first thing he did.
There's 6 of us and one is missing. What miles in the water?
Can you see her? Carnage and chaos. 19-year-old Mallory Beach missing after a night on the boat with friends. The recent high school graduate jettisoned from her boyfriend's arms when a 17-foot center console plowed into a piling in Beaufort County, South Carolina.
Tide, wind is always a factor.
More than a dozen first responders and an army of volunteers searched for a week.
Bring in the air assets to help us look in the areas that the boats can't get into.
Prayer chains to find Mallory alive turned to an unbearable wave of grief.
Miss your voice, miss your smile, everything about you worth the while.
The store where she worked and modeled clothing posting a public tribute, but privately, the Murdaugh machine was at work.
A lot of influence across the board. Nothing really happens unless the Murdaugh family says it happens.
It was the Murdaugh's boat, the family's youngest son Paul parking it at a gas pump. He was at the helm, or was he? Friend Connor Cook on board as well that night, and his attorney says it was not long before Alec Murdaugh was telling all 5 survivors to stay quiet on who was captain. What was clear immediately, though, alcohol was in copious use by the underage boaters. The police report saying all were grossly intoxicated, yet no one's blood alcohol levels were checked at the scene.
Same thing if everybody's standing around a car, you don't know who drove it. It's not against the law to be standing around a car intoxicated.
But Mallory's boyfriend, Anthony Cook, is said to have told authorities immediately that Paul Murdaugh was captain. And Paul left a trail of photos about town, parked at the pump, not for gas. His friends say he used his big brother Buster's ID to buy beer and malted drinks at the store. The 20-year-old raising his purchases triumphantly before they're loaded into his pickup truck. Later, after drinking with parents present at an oyster roast, the group continued boating to dodge known DUI roadside checkpoints. Docking near a bar called Luther's, where Paul and Connor do more drinking. Back in the boat, one friend testifying Paul was belligerently drunk, slapping his girlfriend, spitting in her face, giving up the wheel till the deadly crash.
Please send someone.
No, we're calling, okay? The Murdaugh family served nearly a century consecutively as the area's solicitor, meaning they prosecuted cases, putting them in close working relationships with officers, deputies, state agents on the case, and others.
They always put on a get-together every year for first responders, police officers, things like that.
This family has been powerful, the center of power and influence there for almost 100 years.
Going to set a personal reconnaissance bomb.
It would take nearly 2 months for Paul Murdaugh to be criminally charged. Eyebrows raised with his release that same day with a $50,000 bond and surrender of his passport.
Anything to say about that, about why he decided to plead not guilty? Because he's not guilty.
His former friend Connor cleared at last.
Connor was left to twist in the breeze for nearly 2 months.
Next, the crash bringing in.
Okay, so let's talk about Connor for a moment here. So Connor did file this lawsuit against Alex Murdaugh, essentially. It was Alex and Paul. Let's see. Let me present the document here. And I'm just going to go over part of the court filing, which simply establishes the facts as they see it from this side of the lawsuit. Let's see. So, number 12, Murdaugh family is a prominent and powerful family based in South Carolina. For nearly a century, the Murdaugh family has controlled the prosecutor's office in the 14th Judicial Circuit, which includes Allendale, Hampton, Jans, and some other places. Several members of the Murdaugh family also serve as attorneys and partners in one of the most influential firms in South Carolina. Paul Murdaugh, who was found murdered in June of 2021, along with his mother, Maggie Murdaugh, was at all relevant times a minor under the age of 21. They're talking about in the boating accident. That's what this lawsuit is relative to. We already talked about that. Upon information and belief, on the day of the boating accident and at other times prior to and after the accident, Paul Murdaugh was permitted unrestricted use of the family credit card belonging to his mother to purchase alcohol, a fact known to the family and parents. Number 16, he's buying beer at Parker's. He has, I'm just paraphrasing here, he has Buster's ID, and they make a complaint here as to someone's question earlier. It says Parker's monetary focus on transaction speed at the expense of proper license checks, and they failed scrutiny by Parker's staff, all in violation of South Carolina law. Correct as always, Miss Jeannie. Here we go. We already know about that. So along the same lines as to who are the parties that this plaintiff is suing, number 18, it was reasonably foreseeable to all defendants that a minor who illegally purchases and possesses alcohol will consume the alcohol, and it is foreseeable that the minor will become intoxicated, all pointing to the liability of Parker's and the bar. So they're just talking about the accident. Mallory was ejected. Connor Cook suffered a fractured jaw and other injuries, and this led to physical and mental distress and injury. 22. Soon after, Connor Cook placed a 911 call for help and emergency personnel. Multiple law enforcement agencies arrived on the scene of the boat accident. Based on deposition testimony, law enforcement upon arrival knew or should have known that alcohol was involved in the crash and should have immediately known or concluded that the operator of the boat was Paul Murdaugh, given his obvious state of intoxication. his family's ownership of the boat, the loud and angry statements by at least one of the passengers that Paul Murdaugh was driving the boat at the time of the collision, and the belligerent and combative behavior of Paul Murdaugh. Despite this information, the multiple agencies present immediately following the accident made no reasonable investigation of who was operating the boat at the time of the accident. So this is all lending to the fact that the Murdaugh family, as always, according to this complaint from Connor Cook, and I certainly believe this to be true, the Murdaugh family is always given preferential treatment no matter what the price was, no matter what the expense was to be paid. Yeah. Let's see. All right. So this is where, this to me is perhaps getting onto the most important point. Number 25, most of the hospital personnel that night who interacted with Paul Murdaugh and the passengers were interviewed by law enforcement. It appears that at the hospital, defendant Murdaugh, who had a clear conflict of interest as a boat owner and the father of intoxicated Paul Murdaugh, sought out all or most of the boat passengers in an attempt to control the narrative of what had occurred. Defendant Murdaugh found plaintiff Cook, meaning Connor Cook, because there was Anthony Cook too, as he was on the way to have his jaw x-rayed. So think about that. Alec Murdaugh sought out Connor Cook as he was on a gurney being wheeled, to the x-ray technician to have his jaw x-rayed. Come on, seriously. And he did this with all the passengers who were being treated at the hospital. When Morgan Dougherty was having her hand stitched up, I believe it's in the Netflix documentary, she reveals that she said to the nurse, "Do not let that man in here. Keep that man away from me." When she saw Alec Murdaugh walk by, because due to her relationship with Paul Murdaugh and, being close to the family, she knew exactly how they worked. And I'm sure that she knew what she was in for, so gross. So defendant Murdaugh negligently or intentionally instructed Connor Cook that everything would be all right, telling him to, quote, keep his mouth shut, end quote, and inform law enforcement that he did not know who was driving the boat at the time of the crash. In conformity with the investigation by defendant Murdaugh, Connor Cook gave vague explanations of the accident. So he's blaming, him feeling intimidated by Alec Cook is being the reason that he didn't give more precise and detailed account of what happened leading up to that boat crash. And, this is the reason why he says, "I did not definitively tell investigators." Yeah, of course, Paul was driving. Obviously, we all are saying that. Here's how we know. Here's how you'll know. Dun. Go after the man, right? Or the young man. Plaintiff Connor Cook, a young 19-year-old, was then moved because of his extensive injuries to the Medical University of South Carolina for surgery. While there, authorities attempted to interview Connor Cook, who had sustained a concussion, been administered pain medications for his injuries, and was en route to surgery. Because of his injuries and ongoing medical treatment, Connor Cook gave vague explanations about the accident. Item number 27, under facts in the Connor Cook complaint against Murdaugh, the lawsuit. That very night, defendant Murdaugh encouraged and instructed Connor Cook and his family to retain attorney Corey Fleming. We know Corey Fleming from some of the financial crimes that Alec Murdaugh committed. He's his buddy. He's his wingman. It sounds like he's his yes man. Murdaugh advised that Fleming would be the best attorney for Connor Cook in representing his interests in the criminal investigation regarding who was operating the boat at the time of the collision. Item number 28, the next day, the Cook family did as instructed by defendant Murdaugh. Now, again, I think it's in the Netflix documentary. Maybe it was in the HBO special. I'm not exactly sure. I think it was in the Netflix documentary. Connor Cook's parents spoke, and they explained that they were, in fact, intimidated by Alec Murdaugh, that they had seen, how he functioned in the community. They certainly knew the family name. They knew that he had preferential treatment. They knew that, in their opinion, the man was untouchable. They knew that Alec Murdaugh had spoken to their son and given him instructions to not let investigators know that Paul Murdaugh was driving, and Alec Murdaugh intimidated the parents as well. So Alec Murdaugh, got to everyone, all of the passengers, all of the victims, and their families. So the next day, the Cook family did as instructed by defendant Murdaugh and hired Fleming to represent Connor Cook in the criminal investigation. Connor Cook subsequently met with Corey Fleming. During that interview, Corey Fleming was provided with information that Paul Murdaugh was driving the boat at the time of the accident. At no time was a potential conflict of interest revealed or discussed with the Cook family, because there was an obvious conflict of interest. And plaintiff Connor Cook was instructed to decline to be interviewed by law enforcement. Oh my gosh. Such advice was to the advantage of Paul and Alec Murdaugh and against the interests of Corey Fleming's client, who was Connor Cook. Connor increasing the potential that Connor Cook would continue to be a suspect and potentially face criminal charges as a boat operator. Oh, I'm sorry. So he went against those interests, and that was a continuation of the sentence. I'm sorry. Item number 29, unbeknownst and undisclosed to plaintiff Connor Cook and his parents at the time Corey Fleming was hired, Corey Fleming failed to disclose that he had been Alec Murdaugh's college roommate and was one of his best friends, and was also Paul Murdaugh's godfather. Yikes. Defendant Murdaugh and Corey Fleming never disclosed these conflicts of interest to plaintiff Cook. Instead, they encouraged and instructed Connor Cook not to cooperate with law enforcement. Fleming's instructions served to convert the unwitting Connor Cook into an agent of protection for Paul Murdaugh, exposing Connor Cook to potentially being charged as a boat operator and therefore responsible for the accident. I personally think that this lawsuit lays it out so well how Alec Murdaugh's actions that night in speaking to all of the passengers of the boat and their families was, just creating this impenetrable wall of protection around his son, Paul Murdaugh, who was driving a boat that just caused the death of a beautiful young girl. Let's see. Oh, and by the way, it is an attorney's responsibility. I found the rules, the Bar Association rules and bylaws that state this. It is an attorney's obligation, not their choice, but their obligation to inform their clients of any known conflict of interest. So simply by Alec Murdaugh and Corey Fleming not doing so with Connor Cook and the Cook family, they were looking at being dismissed from the Bar Association and possibly losing their license to practice right then and there. Okay, that's basically what number 30 says. Let's see, I can't remember if there's another one. Number 33, despite Anthony Cook making it known on the night of the accident to law enforcement that Paul Murdaugh was driving the boat in Paul Murdaugh's intoxicated condition on the scene, law enforcement authorities did not request a blood sample from Paul Murdaugh on the night of the boat crash, which is unreal. So imagine if this was a person driving a car and they cause a fatal accident. Could you imagine the responding authorities not getting their blood alcohol content in some way, shape, or form? I mean, that would be absolutely insane. Everybody would be, livid, up in arms that they were so irresponsible. Well, driving a boat or driving a car intoxicated and as a result causing a fatal crash, I mean, are they really that different from one another? So it turns out that the hospital did take Paul Murdaugh's blood and tested his blood alcohol. I think it's also in the Netflix documentary. It's explained that, or rather, a statement from a nurse is read, and she's saying, to paraphrase, he was acting so freaking crazy and erratic and belligerent and just being a total a-hole, Paul Murdaugh, when he was at the hospital. Like, we didn't know what was up. So as a precaution, they wanted to get his blood alcohol content. It ended up being 0.28. That's over 3 times the legal limit for an operation of a boat or vehicle. So the legal limit for operation of a boat or vehicle is 0.08. And guys, they took his blood alcohol 4 hours after he arrived at the hospital. So it was astronomically high. Astronomically high, period. That's just crazy. I mean, yikes. Oh my goodness. Let me come to comments over here. Oh, Kurt Stacy, how are you doing, my friend? Nice to see you. Did I also see Joan Bradley? Awesome. Let's see here. Hi, Mrs. B. How are you doing? Nice to see you. Hi, Jody is cool. How are you? Joan, how's it going, my friend? Let's see. Annabelle Stealth. Listen to the... Oh, this is jumping to a different topic, but this caught my eye and I'd like to read it. And welcome, by the way. Listen to the indignation in Maggie's voice during the 911 call. So this is in regards to when Maggie called 911 because they're, what would you call her, a maid, the hired help who ended up dying on their property, had apparently fallen off of a step and hit her head and died. So then Annabelle Stealth goes on to say, and Paw, I like how y'all picked that up, said, quote, she works for us, end quote. How compassionate. I know. That 911 call was really like despicable. Let's see here. Oh my gosh, those blue lights. Oh, there's so many things that could be discussed. Hi, Kurt Stacy. Great to see you, my friend. I'm so happy to see you here. People ask about you all the time. I miss you personally. Got your email. Didn't respond to anyone's emails yet this week. Work's been crazy. Got all those, adolescents to work with. But I'm so glad you're here. Let's see. Does anyone want to come up briefly and say anything or ask a question or pose something to the people here in chat? I just put the link in the chat if you would like to come up. Hey, Lauren, how you doing? Oh, wait, that's Lauren Q. Okay, I said hi to you, but hi again, darling. Let's see here. All right, let me get back down to current comments. So this is a good question. Kay Braze asks us, so how many people believe that Paul, Maggie, and Buster knew about all the lying and all the money being stolen, or did they have no idea about that? I personally, I'll answer that, Kay Braze, and I'd love to hear from the rest of you. And again, if you do want to come up and say anything, the link is in chat and you're welcome to do so. I think that they were starting to learn about that. I think that, we know that one of the reasons that Alec Murdaugh was stealing so much money is that he was deep into the throes of a very long opiate addiction, from what I think I and everyone understands really takes over your life if it doesn't take your life. And, God bless anybody who is recovering from opiate addiction. I know it is incredibly challenging, and you are an amazingly strong person, and I hope you give yourself that credit. I think you can only have an addiction, this is my personal opinion, that is that intense for a certain period of time until your life starts to become a total shit show. I mean, he was an incredibly highly functioning opiate addict, right? So you can only pull that off for so long. And I think he was really lucky. I mean, if you want to use that word, in his mind, luck was on his side to, to pull off the show that he was putting on for the world for as long as he did, because that was a pretty serious opiate addiction. So I think everything started to come unraveled at a certain point, and the family started to really understand what was going on, whether they knew all the details or fully admitted it to themselves or not. I think they definitely all had an inclination, except for perhaps Paul, who just seemed a little drunk and oblivious. So, hey, Gregory. Everyone welcome Gregory Worth up to the panel. How are you doing, my friend?
Hey, I'm great, Kelly. How you doing?
I'm doing good. So great to see you. What are you thinking about?
Well, I think that I think it was Kay Brace that made the comment. I do think that the whole hospital visit by Alex was kind of the beginning of the house of cards falling.
Yes.
In all of this. But I don't, as far as Gloria goes, if it's okay to go there.
Yeah, and Gloria is what was she? Was she the maid or the nanny? What did they refer to her as?
Was she the
housekeeper? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. There you go.
I really do think that there's a good possibility that Maggie actually pushed her down, and then Paul let her fall. I think Paul was there, and I think that it could have been both of them actually.
Yeah, I think so. You know what? I think I'm going to try to find that 911 call, because if have any of you, I mean, have you guys heard this 911 call? Because I don't know, in my opinion, once you hear that 911 call, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. There seemed to be such little empathy for her. I mean, here's a lady that had worked for him for I don't know how many years, and it just there was no excitement in their voice, like panic. It was just matter of fact.
Yeah, no, that's right. Here, I actually have the call right here. So let's bring that into the stream. So those of you that have not heard it can hear it. And and then Joan, I see you back there. I'll pull you up as soon as, here, I'll bring you up, and then I'm going to play the 911 call, and then I'll bring you on up just to make sure we don't have any additional background fuzz. You know how that goes. Awesome, Joan. So glad you're coming up. All right, here we go. So there's Gloria. Once again, according to Morgan, and I do believe, once again, this was from the Netflix documentary. Again, I think it was really totally worth watching. She says that Paul considered Gloria to be more of his mother than his own mother, Maggie. That Maggie was very hands-on with Buster, And by the time she had Paul, she was just kind of over it. She had difficult pregnancies. Maybe she felt a little resentful towards that. I don't know. She had other things that she needed to attend to. She was a high society woman. And Gloria really, spent time with Paul. She raised him essentially. She was dedicated to him being raised well. And Paul had a very close relationship, according to Morgan, with Gloria. And she said when she did die that Paul cried like a baby. I don't know.
9:24 a.m. in February 2018.
Come here. 4147 Moselle Road.
Okay, can you give me the address one more time? Make sure I got it right.
Yes, 4147 Moselle Road.
Okay, what's going on out there?
I'm sorry?
What's going on out there?
My housekeeper has fallen and her head is bleeding. I cannot get her up.
Okay, you said she's fallen. She's bleeding from the head.
Yes,
Okay. How old is she?
I'm not sure, like 58 maybe.
Do you know if she fell from standing or not?
No.
Where'd she fall from?
She fell going up the steps, up the brick steps.
Okay, so she outside or inside?
Outside.
Okay. How many steps is there?
8.
Okay, is she on the ground or is she up near the
She's
top?
on the ground. She's on the ground. She's on the ground.
Is she conscious?
No, not really.
Is she awake at all?
Yes.
Okay. Is she just not like responding appropriately, but she is awake?
Man, she's not responding.
Okay, I've already got them on the way. Me asking questions does not slow them down, ma'am.
Yeah, so wait, hold it.
Knowing if she's conscious is
So the 911 operator here, if you have to listen carefully, she, Maggie Murdaugh is really giving her an attitude. The 911 operator, of course, is asking the questions she's trained to ask, and all these questions are towards, making sure that the emergency responders can get to the person that's in distress and help them as efficiently and effectively and quickly as possible to save their life or to save their health or whatever the case may be. So anyway, she has to say to Maggie Murdaugh, answering my questions is not going to slow down their response. They're already on the way. So you can hear, if you listen carefully, this 911 operator is kind of having to put Maggie Murdaugh in her place because she is not being cooperative. I'm just going to go back a few seconds there. Listen carefully.
Mm-hmm.
Is she on the ground or is she up near the top?
She's on the ground. She's on the ground. She's on the ground.
Is she conscious?
No, not really.
Is she awake at all?
Yes.
Okay. Is she is awake?
Man, she's not responding.
Okay, I've already got them on the way. Me asking questions does not slow them down, ma'am.
Man.
Knowing if she's conscious is one of the things that the medic needs to know. If she's responding
Not
at
really.
all to you.
No.
Okay, so she's not responsive at all.
Well, she's mumbling.
Okay, so she is somewhat conscious. Is she breathing okay?
Yes.
Is she bleeding from anywhere?
Yes, her head.
Hey, are you
Now,
guys control?
don't you think you would have mentioned that by now? And just her very stoic, cool, and calm demeanor here. I'm like not good with blood. I'm not like a medical person whatsoever. I have other specialties in life. But if, I don't know, if that was happening to somebody in my presence, I know I'd be bugging out a little bit. You'd hear heavy breathing or, increased rate of speech or whatever the case, all of those signs that somebody is a little upset over something. Mm-hmm. None of those indicators are present in Maggie or Paul. And this is something that I pick up on as a behavioral specialist, these indicators that, tell us that somebody is experiencing a certain emotion or, even an involuntary emotion. None of that is present for either of them.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Well, and didn't she say she fell up the stairs?
I didn't catch that. Yeah, did she? I didn't catch that, actually.
I thought
Yikes.
she did. I thought I heard her say she fell up the stairs.
No.
Oops, sorry. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to listen to that more carefully, but regardless of like which way she fell, everybody, I've intentionally sought out medical experts who commented on this situation to get a feeling of what they had to say. Usually, medical experts, any kind of expert, there's going to be those who disagree with one another. Every single medical expert who was interviewed or who just offered comments on this said, there's no way, I think she was 51 or 52, that a woman of that age who fell, at that height or, a fall that wasn't like that severe, they wouldn't die from it. This is not a fatal situation. Every single one of them said that. So extremely suspect.
Yeah.
Drag or anything on it.
And every single one of them, I think, was 3, but still, they all agreed, completely with one another.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, is she bleeding from like her face, the back of the head?
I got an ambulance coming. Sir, ma'am, what?
Where exactly is she bleeding from her head?
I'm not sure. At the top of her head.
Okay.
Yes, everybody, Gregory, you're totally right. I just didn't pick that up. Everybody in chat is saying, yep, she said up the stairs. Super weird.
Watch it right there. Oh, gosh.
What happened?
She just fell back down. Can I get off this phone so I can go down there?
Can I have your name and phone number? Or are you able to bring the phone down by her?
What?
Are you on a cell phone where you can walk down there and talk?
Cell phone. No.
Okay, can you bring it with you so we can ask her some questions about what kind of pain she's having?
Hello?
Yeah, can you ask the patient what kind of pain she's having?
Ma'am, she can't talk.
Okay, do you know?
She's cracked her head and there's blood on the concrete and she's bleeding out of her left ear.
Okay, she's bleeding out of her ear?
And out of her head. She's cracked her skull.
Okay. All right, the other lady said that she had tried to stand up and fell down again?
No, I was holding her up.
Okay.
She told me to turn her loose and she was trying to use her arm, but then she fell back over.
Okay, do you guys know who she is?
Yes, she works for us.
Okay, do you know if she's ever had a stroke or anything before?
Ma'am, can you stop asking her the questions?
I already have them on the way. Asking questions.
What an attitude.
Slow them down in any way.
I know. Yeah, go ahead, Gregory.
I was going to
Just what an
say, that's it. Yeah, I mean, what an attitude for somebody that is laying there, or has. I mean, it's obvious to me she fell up the steps, and then, that didn't do her in, so they probably stood her up and then let her fall backwards because Maggie first said she fell up the steps, but then right after that she said she was laying on the ground.
Right. Yeah, right. Because if you're falling up the steps, I mean, if she is carrying something that would prohibit her from bracing herself with her arms and her hands, you'd think that thing would be big enough that might brace her fall a little bit. But if you're falling up the stairs, I mean, you're going to have some kind of a reflex that is going to cause you to break the fall a little bit. Again, just with the medical experts said, of course, that this is not a fatal situation.
Right.
Jeez, crazy.
But you fall backward where you can't brace yourself. And with them describing the blood, coming out of the ears, I mean, that's usually a fatal thing.
Yeah, exactly. So this is just such a super strange situation. So I brought Kurt and Joan up, and hi guys. I want to get your opinions in just a minute. I just want to go back a couple seconds here so we can hear how the 911 operator also had to put Paul Murdaugh in his place and say, hey, listen, you answering my questions is not going to slow down the response. So let's take a listen here.
She told me to turn her loose and just fell back over.
Okay, do you guys know who she is?
Yes, she works for us.
Okay, do you know if she's ever had a stroke or anything before?
Man, can you stop asking her
I
questions?
already have them on the way. Me asking questions does not slow them down in any way. These are relevant questions that I have to ask for the ambulance. One of my questions is, has she ever had a stroke?
I don't believe she's ever had a stroke now that I know that.
Okay, is she able to talk to you guys at all, or is she unconscious now?
She's not unconscious. She's just mumbling.
Okay.
I believe she's maybe hit her head and maybe has a concussion or something.
Okay.
Maybe.
Do you know what her name is?
Gloria Satterfield.
You said Sanderfield?
Ma'am?
You said Sanderfield?
Satterfield.
Satterfield. Okay, what's the house look like out there?
It's offset off the road.
Okay.
It's a big house, got a wide driveway.
With a long driveway?
Yeah.
Is there a gate or anything down there that they're going to need to come through?
There's two big brick columns they'll have to come through.
Okay, but there's no like gate code or anything that they need?
No, ma'am. And tell them that they can look for a fellow on a 6x6 Ranger.
Okay.
Waiting on them in the road is green. You know what they probably know what the Ranger looks like.
Yeah. You said like
Fella's
green.
got on a black sweater, a hat, and pants.
Okay. All right. If something changes with her, if she loses consciousness or anything like that, I need one of you guys to call me back right away, okay?
Jeez.
Okay, well, how long is it going to take? Because this pickup.
That I don't know. I've had them on the way since Maggie first called me. They were toned right away.
Okay.
All right, but I think they're coming. They're coming from somewhere on Belt Highway in Ruffin, okay? That's where their station is.
Thank you.
All right.
Wow. Oh, man. So, Kurt, Stacey, welcome. It's wonderful to see you. And Joan Bradley, great to see you too, guys. I'm so happy you're here. What do you guys think about this call? Go ahead. You go first, Kurt.
Wow. They sounded real worried and concerned.
Oh, he says sarcastically. I know.
How's everybody doing? I'm sorry. Yeah, no, seriously. I mean, I know they were answering questions that you normally do with 911, but it seemed like there was really not a lot of desperation there about it.
No.
Well, she fell down and there's blood coming out of her head and she cracked her skull. Yeah, except for Paul saying, why are you asking me all these questions? But there wasn't really like, I didn't feel like they were that worried. Does that sound?
No, go ahead.
I mean, it just, yeah, that happened. And yes, here we go. And get somebody out here.
Yeah, totally. Now, also, in addition to what we're saying here, and I think it seems like we're going to hear from Joan in a minute, almost in consensus about this, that they definitely didn't seem too concerned. A lot of people in chat are also saying things like Nora's grandma here says, I feel like the 911 operator is asking things for her own curiosity as well. And then, somebody else pointed out that who was that? That she had resigned shortly after. Was that Lauren Q who said that? And yes. And let's see. And, Nora's grandma again says, I think Maggie is cold for sure, but the 911 operator isn't very tactful, to say the least. That annoys me too. Others were saying that maybe she wasn't asking the right questions. I'm not really, I just picked up more the attitude from Maggie and Paul, but I'll have to listen to that aspect of it more carefully. Now, Jeannie Ramsey pointed out that apparently the injury was to the top of her head. So once again, going back to the idea, if she fell up the stairs, how the hell do you get a fatal injury to the top of your head?
Yeah.
It makes no sense. What do you think, Joan? How are you doing, girl?
I'm doing good. How are you? How's everybody?
Wonderful.
I
Great to
have
be up here.
I have a lot of opinions. I mean, I th- I find it all right. So I think the honest truth is their personalities. Like I was thinking maybe something must have happened. Maybe a confrontation happened. It could have happened with Maggie too, because she sounds more disgusted to me. Like, and then, but we don't know the atmosphere. Like, we don't know, was it hot? Did she walk up the steps? I know the dogs. Like, was there one dog? Was there a couple dogs? Like what? I just would like to know more about the day. Like,
right?
What was going? Like, because I go back to the Netflix stuff. Documentary where that with Paul. I think Paul, honest to God, was like, I didn't know. I would like to know his backstory. Was he always like an angry kid, or was he the drinking caused like the anger when he started the drinking? Like, was that when the anger started? Was he? Because he was. I feel like his family doing what they have done started. They put him like apparently they, the mom was disconnected from him. He was close to Gloria, and her, with her dying, and I'm sure he cared about that friend. I think the friend. I think he took that hard in his head, but his parents were the ones that made him like not be accountable because that's what they did, and that would have been. He needed counseling. I think he was on the road. It wasn't going to be a good road for Paul. I think that anger issues and stuff, and the build up, how they hid everything from everybody and tried to cover it up, was not good for him. And he was young. He's on his. God, he's 16. I mean, look at Buster. Sometimes he looks really sad. Like, if there's something in there, like anger or something, like they were. I think I'm wondering if they weren't resentful, like of that dad stepping in and doing all that stuff. Like sometimes, like and Maggie seems to be just as big. Like, I would like to know more about Maggie, I guess, because I don't know much about her personality, anything about Maggie. They didn't really talk about it. And I think I'd like to know.
I agree on
more
that,
about that.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I like the way the kids' perspective of it. But then again, that's what I mean. I don't know much backstory. I mean, we see the father blubbering all, snotting all over the place, and with them two, that just happened. You would have thought somebody would have had more. Oh my God, she fell, she hit her head, because I mean, head wounds can be bad. I mean, with anything, I mean, you got to be careful with your head wounds. We don't know if she was dizzy, and then the dog, and I just feel like they were. I don't know, but for somebody, they seem like they're like maybe that's that type of family. Maybe some people that react different. Maybe that's just. I mean, maybe they were just I don't know, overwhelmed with everything going on with the father, and I don't know. I just can't. I know it's kind of hard, but the kids don't believe that anything. The lawyer spoke from Gloria, and I heard he said that they didn't believe that anything nefarious happened with Gloria. The kids. Now that could just be their opinion. I don't know. I would really hate to think that. I'm just hoping it was like. I think Alex just went not that crazy makes him crazy, but I think he was just so absorbed. That like they had so much and he had everything that he had to get so greedy, and like he could have sold one of his houses and still been okay for life. I just don't. He just had to go to that point, and I do believe he did that. If he didn't try to shoot himself outside on the road after that, and not one person could say one good thing about him, is what makes me believe that he did kill them. But the way that he I mean, I heard more, and another thing to go back to Maggie. I heard her more upset about the dog having the pigeon in her mouth than I did on the 911 call. So it's just I don't know. I just think the whole family was a little loose.
Regardless of, what the family dynamics were like, and if, I think you're kind of saying, was there sort of a
basically
environment within the house where there was just kind of a lack of emotion and they were, more concerned about other things. Regardless of all of those different factors that, yes, of course, are going to influence how somebody reacts, the reaction from these two here, or the lack of reaction and the lack of emotion and the lack of indicators of any kind of emotional arousal. And it's the same thing with Buster when he's testifying and when he's on the stand in the trial. That is, being a behavioral specialist, that is outside the range of normal human behavior. And I'm sure of that. There are scientific studies done on, indicators that we can pick up with our senses, that we can hear, that we can see in a person, that indicate some kind of like emotional arousal. They have none of them. It's very bizarre.
I wonder if that's like from like being, having that power where they fixed everything, and I don't know, they took it for granted, or it's kind of, I like the attitude is, I think, but yeah, you're right. Like, I'd like to know their backstory. Were they always like that, or were they just party when they drank? Were they all different people, like from opposed to not having alcohol? Are they just those people? I'd like to know, like, were they all drinkers? Like, what time did they start drinking? No,
Well,
just kidding.
yeah. I mean, apparently, according to Morgan, they were all drinkers. They all drank together, and obviously the parents condoned
Yeah.
it. I know that, I and again, like you said, you haven't learned like all that much in depth about Maggie and her personality. I feel the same in that regard. Like, I know, she did drink, she drank with a family, she drank like party a little bit, but I don't know like to what the extent was. That's interesting. What do you think, Kurt?
Right.
Well, I had heard something along the lines where I can't reference it, and maybe I shouldn't say because I can't reference it, but in all the information that I've been reading about this case, and I've been following it for quite a while down here in the South, that somewhere along the line I heard, and maybe you can correlate this, where she said, told her kids, because of the position that they were in, that they really didn't have anything to be worried about if they got in trouble.
Right.
Now, have you heard that?
Yes.
I heard that from some. I can't remember. I can't pinpoint.
Well, we could. I bet it's true because you hear the way he called his grandpa when he was drunk. He called my grandpa, so that was their go-to, like to fix it.
Well,
like
let me
your
tell you
friends.
another story that was relayed. Again, it was by Morgan, and it was in the Netflix series. If you haven't watched it, obviously you know what I think about that. Run, watch it after this, of course. And she said that there was a time when she and Paul, I believe she said it was about a year prior, something like that. They had gotten in a car accident. They were in his truck. The truck overturned. It was very scary. She said it could have been very bad. Luckily, we weren't seriously injured. We really could have died. It was, she was very shaken up. Obviously, if you're in an accident and the truck overturns, that's extremely scary. Well, Paul, as he always did, apparently, according to her and others, called his grandpa, called Handsome, and Grandpa and Maggie. And I can't remember if it was Alex showed up then or if he showed up a little later. They all
grew
up at the
beer
scene.
cans and all. Yeah, it was like crazy.
They come right over to the truck, and there was a bunch of firearms. There's a bunch of guns and maybe beer cans and stuff in the truck. So they don't even check on Paul and Morgan. They go right to the guns. They go right to the beer cans. They start cleaning shit up, putting it in bags, taking it out of his car, putting it in their car. And apparently Morgan had called 911. And Maggie said to her, "Did you call 911?" And Morgan said, "Well, yeah, of course. My God, we could have died." She said, "Why did you do that? Don't ever call 911. You could have gotten my son in serious trouble." And
she didn't even worry about the girl. I would have first went over to her, but are you okay? Because that's would have been my main concern, is my son's girlfriend.
I mean, anyone. I mean, it's totally not a normal response when your child and another, kid essentially are in a car accident where, the truck is overturned. That's bad enough. And rather than checking on them, you go and start to like take stuff. And by the way, you're a prominent attorney and a prominent attorney's family and a solicitor, which is essentially a district attorney. And you make a beeline over to the illegal stuff in the truck to start to hide things and cover stuff up. I mean, that just says something about what their mindset is, where their priorities are, and what they are very accustomed to doing. It was like a habit. They didn't even need to think about it. What's our priority? We don't want our name, our reputation to be sullied. So we're going to get rid of anything that might make us look bad. We don't care how they are,
Mm-hmm. I know, like, they didn't care about, they wanted to look so good, but they looked so bad. They were getting shunned because people were sick of that crap. You're pulling that power all the time. It's one thing to, it's like, my God, you had the money and power, and it still wasn't enough for him. I think he's been doing that his whole life. I think she definitely knew. She had to have.
Yeah.
Maybe, like the wife. I don't know. Like maybe she was going to leave him because he slipped up on the stand. You heard him say, and Maggie said for me to leave. So I'm wondering, like, I feel like he slipped up when he said that up on the stand. He said that, and then he said it, he retracted that part. Like, so I think it was like I'm wondering, like, it could be nothing. I didn't hear anything about, I'm not sure if she was going to ever leave it or not, but maybe she just was oblivious. They had different houses, they had islands. I mean, like, I don't know what he thought was thinking doing that to them too, but I don't think anything good, nothing good was going to come. They would have ended up dead. They were ready for destruction at such a young age, 16. I mean, all the land, all the fun stuff they had on their property, but it's dangerous stuff, guns, yes, and drinking, and the way he really didn't care. He's arrogant about it. That's the thing too. He was putting other people's lives at risk. It's a shame because my heart broke for that boyfriend and all, and the parents, and oh my word.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, the gun that, Maggie was shot with, that blackout, is a gun that, when people, I don't know that much about firearms, but when, everybody who does know about that kind of thing is they're comparing it to like to an automatic weapon, like a very powerful automatic weapon. And, these were just the toys that the kids played with,
I think at first I wasn't sure if he maybe wasn't going to kill both of them. And maybe one was, but then I thought, no, he had 2 shotguns. I guess he was, but I mean, he like they suffered, and then to look up and see your father. I mean, I know it's just got to be like they're I can't imagine that. That part's sad, but geez.
Yeah, it's crazy. So Gregory, Kurt, what do you guys think?
Well, I just want to differentiate about guns because I know about them because I have a lot of them.
Awesome. Thank you. Please help us out. This is not my wheelhouse.
What was fired was a semi-automatic weapon and a shotgun.
Okay. All right. When I was saying that, I was correcting myself in my head.
And there's a difference. We as Americans do not have access unless you're in the military to automatic.
That's right. Yep. So
automatic
what's the
weapons.
between a semi and tell us people that do not know what is the difference between a shotgun, a semi, and an automatic.
Okay. I will. Okay. An automatic weapon is where you pull the trigger once and it just keeps firing like a machine gun.
Like a video game.
Yeah, you pull the trigger and it goes.
Right. Okay.
A semi-automatic weapon encompasses a lot of different rifles, and it's all different gauges of bullets that you have. It can be a little .22 rifle, like that has a very small bullet, but you have a chamber and you've got a magazine that you can click up into it, and it's every time you pull the trigger, 1, 2, 3. The bullet fires like do. That's semi-automatic.
Okay.
A shotgun is different because the bullet is developed to where there's shot in it. Shot is like little pellets.
Yeah, like buckshot, birdshot.
Birdshot or anything.
I've shot shotguns. It's
which you've heard in this trial about Paul. So and it's in a casing where you see it's like a round plastic casing with a metal head,
and then it has like the extra stuff, like the cushy stuff. What is it? Like I don't know. Go ahead.
They describe it as kind of like a styrofoam kind of thing, but that's just to
packing.
Yeah, and when you fire it, the trigger pulls and it throws out the buckshot. That's why they say people that want weapons to defend themselves, if they don't really know much about firing guns, that might be the best because as the shot goes out, it's all those pellets.
Yeah.
And it spreads across,
Which always makes me think about Dick Cheney, but that's a totally different story.
But anyways, that's the difference. So, automatic weapons, and they say, when all these mass shootings and all this, which are terrible, and that's terrible. But they say get these automatic weapons out of here. We don't have automatic weapons. We have semi-automatic weapons for the public that people can buy. Automatic weapons are like machine guns and military grade weapons that you have where you just pull the trigger and it's like a machine gun that goes and your thumb, your trigger finger is just like this and it's going. Semi-automatic, you can put a chamber up there, and depending on the chamber that you put up there, however many bullets are in it, anything from 10 to 30, and you go dunk, 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 dunk. It fires every time you pull the trigger.
Cool.
Shotguns, or you put those shotgun shells into there, and you pull the trigger, and the shotgun shell goes out. That's a one-time thing, and it propels a shot out over, and it spreads as it goes out and hits whatever it hits. So, like with Paul, the way that he was killed, that was with a shotgun. I'm thinking it might have been a double barrel one, because he got shot once when he was in the feed room. And then what I think is when he wasn't dead and he walked out, and Alex saw that he wasn't dead, and he was getting ready to grab that other AR style rifle, which is a semi-automatic weapon. And he saw, he was down getting the rifle, and when Paul walked out, he shot up, and that's why they were saying that it went up direction, and that's when his brain. I shouldn't say this.
Yeah, no, let's not go to. Yeah, I gotcha.
But I mean, we've seen it. We've seen all that. But I mean, it's like, and then he went and then grabbed the other AR-15 type rifle, which I do have an AR-15, but he grabbed it and ran over there, the 300 blackout, and over to his wife.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Lord.
But that's the difference between the different kinds of rifles that you've got there.
Thank you. That's helpful. Yeah, thank you. That's very informative. Thank you, dear. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I know that was great.
Yeah.
Kelly, what really stuck out to me was that SLED firearms expert, Paul Greer.
Yes.
When he was able to determine that several shell casings found near Maggie's body matched other shell casings found
around
the property
and at the shooting range on the property.
Yes. So and then the conclusion was that obviously this was a family weapon that had been used recently within the family, and like it's a very right.
Yes, the defense argued that you couldn't put that weapon in Alex's hands, but I mean, come on, let's use some common sense, right?
Yeah, right. Seriously.
They had a bunch of them. Yeah. And you saw, I don't know, Kelly, if you saw when I've looked at, that's why when I saw that you were doing this tonight, I have been on YouTube looking at all those different police body cams, and when they went into the house and all that, and all the weapons that they had over there inside the house on the side there and all that. They had pretty much everything.
They did. I'm putting together a video now, and it's going to be, just so you know, when it comes out, for those of you who don't want to see anything graphic, it is going to be graphic. But I mean, there is so much evidence-wise that can be determined from that body cam footage, what we can see there, what we can hear the police officer saying. And, you know, my God, like you said, holy shit, like, you know, guns, you know, it's just, wow.
Yeah, but they were all legally.
They had a lot of guns, right?
Mm-hmm. And those were all. I mean, in the United States, so you can do that. I mean, but and they were mostly hunting rifles, from what I saw from there. But I mean, it just, I just think everything was closing in on this man.
Yeah.
The boat case was coming up in 2 days before those murders happened, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And
but you know what though, he could have, like, he should have, like, if Paul might have woke Paul up if he had to go to jail, and I already think he felt like I was hoping, like, bad about that. I mean, I would hope he inside.
The question I asked, did he feel bad, or was he like terrified? You know, he was getting threats. He knew that I think at some level he knew what he did was wrong. I don't know. I sense you know, this is where I'm putting I have another video that's in the works. It's my theory on, like, the psychological conditions that allowed this to happen and that provided the motive in Alec Murdaugh's mind to murder his wife and his son, I sense from a psychological perspective, a certain kind of psychological and emotional pathology that runs through that family. And that sometimes does happen. So I question, was Paul feeling bad, or was he just feeling fucking scared, for himself? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I had heard that Maggie owned most of that property. Not sure if that was true, but I heard an interview that a lady that was her former, I guess, manicurist or whatever, say that Maggie had confided in her that she was looking in to divorcing Alex.
Yes.
And, it might have been that Alex, in his mind, thought, well, pardon my phrase here, but I'll kill two birds with one stone. I'll get rid of Paul, and therefore he won't tarnish the Murdaugh name.
Yes, sir.
I'll get rid of Maggie because I know she's fixing to leave me anyway. I don't know.
And yes, sir. And did you know that she also had hired an independent forensic accountant to look into that stuff, just like the other folks had, because she couldn't believe that all those things were coming out against them.
Oh wow!
Did you hear about that?
No, I
didn't. Wasn't Paul like investigating his father too with the pills, giving him a hard time? I mean, calling him on the phone and saying, "I found more pills," and things like that.
He was doing that. So there was that pressure, and like Kurt said, she was having a forensic audit done of their finances, right?
Right, and I think that was because of what ties into what he was saying is because she was looking to, well, should I divorce this man because of what's going on financially and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, it's I think that it all ties in like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think, I do think, the boating accident and what happened there, what came of that, and what happened in their minds to the family name. And also, like Kay Bray said, how, Alec handled it immediately after going to the hospital and really very publicly, going to all of the passengers in that boat and witness tampering in front of, an entire hospital staff, plus essentially, that was something that, a combination of Paul and his reckless actions and Alex and his, bold and brazen actions may have done irreparable damage to the Murdaugh family name. Now, something that, I can't find an exact source from this, but there are a couple sources that I find to be rather reliable that just before the Maggie and Paul were murdered, that Alex's dad, Handsome, told Alex if he didn't do something to take care of Paul, he was going to do it himself. He knew that he was, that he was dying, that he was extremely sick. And they took so much pride in their family name was everything. And he was not going to leave this earth knowing that their family name was being just demolished because of all of these things that were happening. So, I'm on my way out of this life. And if you're not going to do something to fix the situation with Paul, I'm going to take it into my own hands. So
do you think he might kill him, like to have him killed, or fix him, like get him help, like fix him?
I took it like.
Yeah. Oh. Because I thought he was Paul's. I thought that Grandpa and Paul were really close. I mean, I know that Uncle was pretty close with Paul. Maybe they. I mean, I would have to think like take him out. Like, my God, you're the problem. You started this with this kid. He is the way he is because of you.
Exactly.
Like people, like good grief.
This is all symptomatic of what I perceive to be a pathology that runs through the bloodline here. Yeah.
Which is very interesting because you know what? I was feeling bad about the legacy thing, like how if they were good people, and just to have Alex come in and just ruin everybody's reputation, like rip it all up to shreds over his greediness. But now I'm wondering, like that mentality, like it has to be, because I was like, the other brothers weren't like stealing off of every single body. I mean, he has to have money buried. There's there's no way, like, I get it. He was shaky. I thought he had Parkinson's, and when I found out he was only 52, I was like, whoa. I thought he was like in his 70s. I didn't, because I didn't really wasn't interested in this.
Stand there, he did, yeah.
Oh, he was shaking and all, but that could have been, I don't know. It could have been just. I was trying to find something out of it.
He was addicted to opiates for like a couple decades or something.
Yeah.
So, I think that kind of addiction does irreparable damage to your nervous system and your
It did, yeah.
body, yeah.
That's probably exactly what it was.
I'm not sure
that's
all
terrible.
that. I'm not sure all that deal going on with his nose was, tears and allergies. I think it could have been, drug related as well.
Yeah. Was he in custody at the time, though? I was thinking about that because.
Yeah, but they get drugs in jail, don't they? Especially probably him.
Yeah, that was kind of a naive question.
Okay.
You think that they don't, but Lord, who knows?
Yeah.
Can I interject something here?
Please.
The times when he was on the stand and all that, when he started doing, was whenever he was faced with something that he lied about.
Yes.
When they were talking about the murders.
Yeah.
When they were talking about, particularly in depth about Paul and Maggie.
Mm-hmm.
He would start, and he even did it when he was on the stand when they started talking about that. So that body language to me was like, okay, so, and his jaw would tense up and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that to me, I was like, how come when it comes to that, he gets so tense?
Yeah.
When they're discussing in depth about the murders and all that. Not to say that he wasn't upset about, loved ones being gone and all that, but it just seemed kind of strange that whenever that was brought up and he was put directly on, in the limelight about that, and when he was being directly questioned,
it's like he remembered he was on stage.
It was always.
Yeah.
And just during those intense times.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like weird. Like he was trying to I don't know what he was trying to do. Not think about it or try not to remember how gruesome it was or something like that. That body language with that seemed kind of strange to me. But that was just my observation. I'm not.
No, I agree with you. Yeah.
I'm not, a person that is licensed and being able to read.
Well, you don't need to be. I think intuitive. We intuitively read one another's body language. Like not all communication needs to be formal and written and spoken in a structured way. Like communication happens on so many levels aside from that. So you don't need to be licensed or anything like that. I think
this is what I observed myself whenever those intense moments were coming up. I started doing this.
I found
thought it was kind of
interesting when the behavioral panel was analyzing his interview, his first interview in the squad car.
I have to watch that.
Yeah, they never did. One thing they pointed out was you never do see, I think they call it the grief muscle that you see in a forehead.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. They never saw that.
Yep. Yeah. A lot of the stress indicators that he does display are it's like stress is like temporary frustration, like nervousness, like you're being put on the spot. Exactly. Yeah. That's a really good point. I haven't watched that. I have to watch. I can't believe I haven't watched that yet.
And did you all notice, this might have just been my observations, but did you notice that when there were certain things that people were testifying about against him about certain things that were pretty incriminating, that glare that he would look over and look at them just from the side view. I just noticed that too. I mean, he would be like looking at them like with the look of death.
Well, what I noticed were expressions of anger and contempt
Uh-huh.
into his moments when, he was supposed to be grieving and emotional and sad and tragic and heartbroken and but his anger overcame those emotions, which when you experience that kind of loss, that is absolutely not normal human behavior.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that what you're kind of saying?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was thinking if you were so grieved by everything that you would just be so
consumed,
almost like a given up kind of like what most quote normal people would be doing, and I just felt like this was a big stage for him.
Yeah,
I felt like I don't think he comprehended anything that the judge said at the end either.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think he comprehended any of it, and I was kind of sad that nobody spoke to him about Paul and Maggie. But I guess the family was kind of like I don't know. So I don't know what. But I kind of thought like because the judge gave them that opportunity, even wait to the next day, and then for somebody, what's that called, the victim impact statement, and no one gave one except the judge, like kind of. And I wish I was kind of hoping somebody would have went up there and spoke on their behalf, but I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? At the end, they said, "Does anybody want to speak?" And there was nobody. I guess maybe they thought they believed him, and then they didn't, and then they just didn't know what to say at the end. They just thought, "Oh, I don't know what to say." But I just thought that was kind of, I don't know, I felt bad.
He was already found guilty at that point, right? So I think that
maybe
they just felt like, well, I don't know.
They were waiting to see what the trial was to believe.
Like a trial mic drop, like this speaks for itself, but.
Yeah, there's some people probably hoping, they're hoping, like they probably knew in their hearts, but I think they just had to wait, and maybe they were just, it was they found out the final guilty, and then that was going to be it for them, and they just didn't have time to comprehend it all. But I thought when the judge said that, and he's like, I think about them every day, he didn't take it. The judge was pretty. I think the judge was like disheartened, like like you're giving us a bit, like it's hard to see you, and the way he put it to him, I thought it was really powerful. Like what he said to him, and I almost was like, I don't think he comprehended any of it because he didn't. Like I love when he shakes his head, like he's like.
Yeah.
Yes, like he's in the moment, but I don't think he got. I think the lights were on, but nobody's home up there. He's thinking already about how he's going to feel it.
Well, you know what I was thinking about, like the head shaking and all of that. I didn't make any sense of it until now when I heard, Gregory, you saying that about the thing with his nose, and then Jeannie just made a comment. Some other people said that head nodding and some of the things that he was doing with his mouth, like he was, chewing on his own cheeks and stuff. Those are like classical, like self-soothing things that people won't notice that they're doing it, especially to the degree where others who are, looking at them can observe that they're doing that. But those are self-soothing things.
Like hugging himself too, he kind of was. You saw him like rocking. Yeah.
So I'm thinking if, his nose was the way it was for the reasons that we're talking about here, he might have been experiencing some kind of certain discomfort, of course, being there in court, maybe being a little paranoid, and maybe being without that, obviously, while he was in court. So that would kind of explain that. So that's very interesting to me.
Yeah. The one comment the judge made that really struck home with me was when he was saying, I'm sure that Maggie and Paul visit you every night, in your dreams, and it went right over Alex's head what he was trying to say.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. They just like, I thought, oh my gosh, he's like, I thought the judge was awesome. Like the way he said it, like calmly, like he waited for it all to be over, and then he spoke, and I thought it was wonderful. Like I thought he was and he just lost this. I think he had a child that died. The judge, like 2 weeks before that, and he was excellent. Like I thought as a judge, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, no, I
Like
thought
I'm
he was
trying.
very
Yeah, I think he was just. It kind of sounded like it disheartened it, but now I'm wondering if it wasn't the whole thing stemming. You know, I was feeling bad for the family, you know, that built the legacy and all. And then I'm thinking like, well, maybe they had to get it from somewhere. You know, that I don't know what that word, what I'm trying to say, but I just don't like. It's mind boggling to me that I just thought that like nobody really, I didn't get much about Maggie's personality much from it, and I haven't heard much about her personality even in the shows. Like I'm kind of, and that's the first time in a case that I haven't heard like in depth or you find out about
Yeah,
the
you really
people
like
that were
sister
murdered.
testified and yeah, you really didn't glean much from it. I don't know. What do you think about that, Gregory? Did you understand much about Maggie's personality and life? And
no, I think, well, from what I understood, I mean, Maggie, you know, grew up a pretty normal life, but then, you know, she quickly adapted to the, you know, the high society lifestyle. And, you know, but as far as like really getting a feel for her personality, the only thing, you know, I got really was there was one comment she had made where she referred to the hired help as Mexicans, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then the way that she, you know, reacted with the Satterfield thing,
That's
it was
awful.
kind of, almost felt like she looked at certain segments of society as below her, you know.
Yes, and then
Yes, like she didn't treat her like a family member. That's how I gathered it. Like the phone call didn't seem like she really knew her at all. Like she was there for 20 years taking care of your children. You know, I wouldn't have known that if it wasn't for Morgan.
Well, and then Morgan, I know at one point was, you know, saying that she was talking about Buster and saying, you know, Buster went to this college and then he joined this fraternity and she's like, and Maggie just ate it up. And then she said, and then he went to law school and she was over the moon. And she was talking about Buster and all of these kind of, you know, things that he did that were accomplishments, but they were also definitely symbols of status to people who value status. And then she would comment on in a slightly sarcastic way about how that just, you know, warmed Maggie's heart. Like those, you know, that
Yeah, they
climbing.
needed hugs, those kids, or something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They needed hugs, like family time, like love me. I think that's what I feel like. They needed to be not the society. Let's talk about you. What do you want to do with your life? Like you don't have to be the lawyer. You can.
No.
I don't know. I was hoping Buster would maybe get rid of it, you know, go on and make something of himself. I hope. But now with all this stuff coming out with the kids, so I don't know what's going to happen.
Kicked out of law school for plagiarism.
What?
He was dismissed from law school for plagiarism.
I did not realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was, and so I wonder.
Didn't Alex try to get him back in too?
He did, and I don't know the outcome of that. I don't think that I don't. Does anyone know the outcome of that? Jeannie?
I was just hoping that he'll just fly away and not talk to his father anymore.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Like if his father was smart, he would say, "Buster, go live your life."
Maggie didn't even raise Paul. Another woman did. So, hi, May May. Welcome. How are you doing? And yeah, so the person that did raise Paul, and this was according to Morgan and others, was Gloria, the housekeeper that died on their property. That 911 call we listened to, where both Paul and Maggie were very unemotional about her really serious injuries. So, yep, that was Gloria. So,
she fell
like if my husband took all the kids' money, I would have been devastated. Like the woman that was in my house for 20 years, and she seemed loving and all, and they didn't even seem upset. Like I'm sure they knew that he stole all that money from the children, those Gloria's children. Like I think that would have been a big deal. Like I would have been making more of a deal if it was my husband. I don't think I would have. I would have been. I don't even know there's 4 kids.
I don't know if they knew about that. I don't know if they knew about that. I think though, like what he did there, I think
came out later.
Kind of slimy dealings that Alec Murdaugh and maybe like his buddy Corey Fleming did that he kept very private because I think there is a certain amount of shame in doing things like that. I mean, no matter how much, you value, money and status and all of that, stealing money from,
Well,
from children
he said he was there
victims,
at that
there is
accident.
there is no like glory in that. That is shameful to like anybody. So I don't know if they knew about that kind of stuff.
Well, the only reason I say that is because his name was there as being there at the house when she fell, and he wasn't there. So she had to have known that he was. Why was his name there?
Because Julie, thank you, Julie. I misspoke. Julie says Gloria did not die on the property. She passed days later, and that's correct. So I did.
Right, I know that. Yeah, she did. I just.
1 second. The accident that she had was on the property, is what I meant. So
And then the lawyer told me that she never said about the dogs. She never talked again. Like she went in there hospital, and everybody was assuming that she said that no, the dogs pushed me over. But apparently, their lawyer, Gloria's family lawyer, said that no, she never said that. She never spoke again when she went in the hospital. That she was unconscious, So I don't know. It's a shame. It's sad for that family, the kids. I mean, that's sad. And they don't want anything. They were the ones that said nothing nefarious happened. They want to believe the best, I guess. They don't want to believe that. She loved that family, too. Like, everybody, apparently, like, the lady that worked for the mother, she was up on the stand. I loved it. They were good people. It's just sad that people they brought, that were involved in and, have to be, I don't know.
Murdaugh's mother, yeah.
Yeah, all that. Like, it's just terrible. Like, the people involved in it, now they're just, like, left to be like, wow, what happened?
Yeah.
I can't believe he did that to them. Like, it's God, but there's no shame.
There is no shame. But I just want
What did he want to get out of like shooting himself in the head? Like, what was that about?
I don't wait.
Like,
Hold on. Wait. Just 1 second. I don't know if we can bite off any more at the moment. Just
Okay.
1 second. So I just, but I love you, Joan.
Okay.
Jeannie says Buster can return to law school this fall. They made him leave for a year. As always, Jeannie coming through with the facty facts. Thank you, Jeannie.
Okay, I'm going to step down. Everybody, good night, and thank you for having me up there.
I love having you up here, Joan, honey.
No. I'm saying no. That's
and I'm like, I've got to end this by 12, so I don't want.
No, I'm going to go down. Yeah.
Because my head is already spinning.
No, it is. It's so much. I appreciate the information though tonight about the guns and knowing about the law school because that stuff. I mean, there's so much to this case. It's like insane.
There's so many details. That's why I just been like watching and researching, and unfortunately, I hadn't talked to Jeannie too much about it, and I didn't even put out anything on this case because there is just so much. It's like there's so much to take in. I get overwhelmed by the details.
No, but it's better doing it this way. This way we get all of it, like if you do the little sections and we all find, that's perfect. Okay, good night, everybody.
I'm a small YouTube channel. I'm not going to be breaking any news. So, it's like you may as well take it all in and figure it out.
No, you're doing good. I like the way you do it. Okay, bye-bye, guys.
Good night.
Nice seeing you, Joan.
Good night, guys. Oh, thank you so much for all the information because it's very interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know much about guns, and I was wondering about the guns because I was wondering how did he shoot two of them? Because I first thought, well, how could he have done that? I'm like, no, he must have really been prepared.
Wait, Kurt, I don't understand that still. What do you think about that?
I think here's the theory about that is that he had probably both the shotgun and the AR style rifle sitting on the side of the feed room. And what the forensic detective stated in his testimony was that the first shot that he did into the feed room by the kennels, Paul was standing sort of sideways. He shot, the barrel was inside the door, and he shot, and it went into his chest, but it was non-fatal because it went kind of sideways into his chest. And they could tell by, you might have heard this in the testimony, but the blood ran down his arm because they could tell by the blood on the floor.
Yeah.
And I think what might have happened is he probably thought that he killed him with that. And he was outside the door getting ready to grab the 300 blackout gun rifle. I mean, but when he saw Paul walking outside, about to come out the door, it probably shocked him. And that was a double barrel shotgun. So he was down already getting this other rifle. and
kind of like kneeling down almost. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And was down, and when he saw that, he just shot upwards, and that's when the fatal shot hit.
Oh
Then
my
when that
Lord.
happened, he grabbed the other rifle, and because Maggie was running that direction to find out what was going on, then he went that direction with it and fired those other shots. They said 2 of those shots that had gone into her, I think they said her leg, and
Yeah.
went into the side of that chicken coop that was sitting right there.
Right.
And they saw the 2 shots into there. And there were 3 shots that were fired. 2 of them went into that side, and then another one. And she wasn't dead. That caused her, in pain. When you got shot like that, you fall down, right?
Right.
And then he walked around her and shot her from behind towards her head, and then came around the other way and shot her directly down into her head with that rifle. Who knows where those went? That's what that blue tarp and all that was about when he went over to Alameda. So then when that caregiver got up and testified about all that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
and there was all that gun residue on that. I guess it was a raincoat or something that looked like a tarp.
Yeah.
It's just a mess. This whole thing is just a mess. And
so now I have a question. Now he had that when the the first officer arrived there.
Mm-hmm.
He had that additional, I think it was a shotgun that he said, a rifle that he went inside to get for like his protection. Do you think he just had that out there with the other ones? Like he had all, he could have just picked like whatever. I don't know. That's so crazy.
In my opinion, I mean, just of course is my opinion. I think he just kind of staged that, went up there and staged that, because the shot that was out of that, when they took that rifle and put it into the police cruiser, that was not the same kind of shot that they would have used to kill Paul. So
yeah,
and that would have been another diversion to throw them off, with.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. Now another question, since we have you, you're officially the channel firearms expert here.
I wouldn't say that.
So I know in one of the body cam videos, it's after the second officer arrives, so I'm pretty sure it's on his body camera, and I think the first guy who arrived is saying, I just don't understand why all the shell casings are here. He's looking at the ground and he's noticing all of the shell casings and this abundance of shell casings. And we're like, what's up with that? I didn't understand that.
That was the shell casings were for the 300 Blackout that they were talking about, which is an AR style rifle. And they were all around. Like, he must have taken so many other shots if those casings were all around. But the way that they tied that into it being a family firearm was that they found older ones around the house, just from other just random shootings that they were doing, whether they were just doing target shooting or whatever.
Yeah.
And they matched those older casings with the ones that were around Maggie's body and all those other ones there, and they all lined up together. So that's why they thought it was a family firearm that did that.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Wow. That's really, that's wild. My God. Yeah. Such a, obviously he's such a, total effing like selfish idiot, but like in some ways he obviously is a very intelligent man. I mean, it's kind of mind boggling to, think that even if he wasn't in his right senses because he was under the influence of, this addiction or withdrawing from or whatever, you think that he, being an attorney and having seen, probably most everything in the book, would realize that you're not going to get away with this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think he was enough of a narcissist that he thought he was, because I think that's why he took the stand, because he talked himself out of so much in the past that he thought that he could get up on the stand and, and do the same. And
he thought he could create that story like you do, like lawyers do, that is going to, okay.
Yes. And And sociopaths like that think that they're smarter than everybody and that they're going to convince everybody to what they want to do. So it's just he like Gregory said,
grandiose sense of self, which he always had.
Right. And being a trial lawyer, I mean, he knew exactly what he needed to do to put on a show for the jury.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, that's right. Oh well, okay. The clock is about to strike midnight, so I would love to hear any closing thoughts or ideas you guys have, or anyone in chat. And then I'm gonna have to roll because I got to work tomorrow. But it's so great to see you guys. So I mean,
my
what
only
now?
thought,
Go ahead.
Kelly, is that thank goodness for Cash's tail. Thank goodness for Cash's tail.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
True enough.
The most unlikely sources.
Paul convicted his daddy without him even knowing it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Jeez. That's so
But
crazy.
there's so much more to discuss about this, and going back to the whole boating accident that unraveled all this whole mess.
Yep. Oh, I know. There's so much to talk about that. I mean, we kind of went into, that's why Joan was like, oh, I can't remember where. Oh, when he got shot in the head, I was like, oh, we can't add another big topic onto this. We've already there's just, it never freaking ends. I mean, this man's life was like a 59 ring circus.
Yes,
it really was. Well, I'm going to step down. Kurt, it was great. Kelly, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gregory. I always love hearing from you.
Yeah.
And
all right.
I'll get off here too, Kelly, because I know you got to get up. You got to get.
It's wonderful to see you, Kurt. Please come back again sometime.
I know it's been quite a while, and I'm glad to be here. And
yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, you look great. It's wonderful to see you. And if I do have any more firearms questions, I'm going to email you.
Please do.
Yeah, I definitely will. All right. Thank you, sweetheart. Be well.
All right. Love you. Talk to you.
Take care. Love you too. Bye, honey. Aw, such great people. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much, Joe. I'm so glad you came up here. Gregory and Kurt. And I'm not missing anyone, am I? You guys are wonderful. And everyone here in chat, it's so great to see you. Awesome. Oh, hey, May. I'm so glad you enjoyed. And everyone else who said they enjoyed the live stream. So glad you guys were here. It's wonderful to hear these different opinions. As we've been talking about, this is just such a massive case. There is just so much to this. And Jeannie Ramsey, can we talk tomorrow? Because I definitely need your help and your knowledge on, as we discussed, now is definitely a good time. So I get out of work tomorrow. It's Friday, so I'll be out at 3. So whenever you want to chat is wonderful. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just reading some of these comments, but thank you guys so much for being here. And yeah, great panel, right? It's awesome. Thank you guys for being so wonderful, also in chat, so respectful to each other. I really appreciate it. So thank you, subscribers, members, moderators. You guys are the best panel. Awesome. Great to see you too, K-Braze. And yeah, Jeannie, so let's definitely now is the time. We'll make sure we talk tomorrow. And yeah, Jeannie's so wonderful. You just, I don't know, you're right. I'm not right about everything. You have, Jeannie has extensive knowledge on so many different aspects of every single case we talk about. It's really quite remarkable. And I'm so super grateful for that. So yeah. Oh, thank you, Joan. And thank you so much. Joan has been one of my longest standing moderators. You were one of my very first moderators, right, Joan? You and Nancy, basically since moderators started existing on this channel. So thanks so much, Joan. You're wonderful. And Greg, oh my God, you guys are all just awesome. Wonderful. Yeah. So listen, everybody be safe. I do have, this channel is going to stay on the topic of the Murdaugh case for a little bit. Because, I do have an ultimate, mostly psychological theory on this family. And I'm talking about the, contemporary present day Murdaugh family and the previous generations. And you know, how things kind of went down. And you really do need to look at a lot of details. You need to look at the big picture, the life of Alex Murdaugh, the life of, you know, the Murdaugh family and the generations before him, to, I think, really understand how and why ultimately the murders of Maggie Murdaugh and Paul Murdaugh happened. And it now makes perfect sense to me. But, you know, kind of building the case to support that theory, it's become important to me, and I want to share it with you and see what you guys think. So we have to touch on a lot of different topics. So I hope you guys are interested. Thank you to everybody else who's watching the replay. I appreciate you guys. Come chat and discuss with us any old time you can, okay? Let's see. Oh, Edmonton, which Edmonton? Ellie, Ray, let's see. Little side topics here. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Wait. Hi, Justice for Dan Markle. So wonderful to see you. I love Justice for Dan Markle. We have to talk sometime, sweetheart. So May says, I think, what did she say here? I think Maggie, he knew, was divorcing him, and Paul, he blamed for stealing all the money. He got caught stealing because of the boat lawsuit, even though it was totally him who made those choices, right? But of course he wouldn't, you know, take that responsibility or culpability on himself. He had to blame someone else, even if it was his own son, his own flesh and blood. That was not as precious to him as his own inflated, grandiose sense of self and ego, right? So that's, you know, the psychological makeup in a nutshell. My God, he's such a despicable human being, clearly. You know, when I was watching this trial, I was, you know, a couple people I was like talking to a little bit, who, you know, as I was watching it, at certain points, well, first of all, I thought that the defense, the head attorney, I thought he was pretty brilliant. I mean, you know, I kept thinking, you know, if Murdaugh is guilty, this is an absolutely impossible case to defend. So keeping that in mind, I thought, you know, it's just as far as presenting his legal argument, I thought he was exceptionally talented. So there's that. But and maybe it was because of that, but there were times, especially earlier on in the trial, midway through the trial, really until we got towards the end. And I'm going to talk in an upcoming video about the points when I was kind of like willing to change my mind. I'm going to admit I was leaning towards, he didn't do this. He did not do this. He did these terrible things. He committed these freaking, you know, like, you know, bold, brazen, ballsy, you know, really selfish crimes, and financial crimes, and especially that magnitude, are not victimless. I firmly believe that. So, you know, he had, you know, a price to pay. He had certain consequences to face, for sure. But I did not think that he murdered his wife and his son. I really didn't. And a couple of people asked me how I could think that. And I just had such a hard, I have and had, and I'm sure many of you relate, a hard time imagining or understanding how somebody could murder their wife, but mostly their own child, right? And I think that was really, you know, that's like a really big thing for me. But I guess maybe I was buying his act, or perhaps it was a defense attorney, but there was a while where I was thinking that he did not do this. He just did not do this. I forgot where I was going with that because I'm getting tired. It's almost midnight. You know what? If I do remember the point, I will tell you next live stream. But I now absolutely firmly believe he's guilty. particularly when you consider, as Kurt pointed out, the body language indicators, the behavioral indicators, the statement analysis tells, and also just the consistency of the testimonies and the claims and the perspective of virtually everyone that we heard from. All of their realities are in alignment with one another, whereas Alex Murdaughs and even Paul Murdaughs, and any of the Murdaughs really, are the aberrations from the consensus of reality that we hear from so many people during the course of that trial, and then also in the subsequent and contemporaneous interviews that were done through various media sources, Netflix, HBO, etc. So I firmly now believe he's guilty. Yeah. So Arlene says, I kept flip-flopping with him until he testified. Yeah, it was during him testifying too, for me, Arlene, when I was like, yeah, no, I don't think so. And then when, just he himself proved that he lied about so many things in his own testimony, that he perjured himself according to himself and his own testimony while on the stand, which is just crazy. This man obviously is not nearly as smart as he thought, because he fancied himself to be. Things like when he was talking about the light, that the blue lights that he put on his car. And, oh yeah, he got permission. And then what was it, the sergeant, or who, I can't remember what his title was, who came and testified, said, no, he never got permission. Like, he lied about that. He absolutely unequivocally never got permission. If he were to have sought permission, I would have been the person, I'm obviously paraphrasing, who would have known about him seeking permission, and that did not happen. I was like, oh, wow, that's a really weird thing to lie about. And, just so many details that were simply not necessary to lie about, just indicated to me that he really was creating, building, and in his mind, a brilliant legal narrative that he thought was going to fool the public, the judge, his friends and family, and most of all, the jury. What an idiot. Oh my God. Yes, the blue lights, the badge, exactly. The shooting himself, yes. The yes, Joan, all of those things. Those are probably the 5 that I would have picked out if I wasn't so tired and could have actually come up with them. Exactly. Thank you, Joan, sweetheart. Let me highlight that again. Yes. So it was the blue lights, the badge, shooting himself in the head, the calling Paw, calling Mags, all of these things. He basically cross-examined himself and proved to the jury that he was a liar by his own double talking testimony. Such a weird trial. Seriously. Yeah, it was the sheriff that said he lied about permission. Thank you. Yep, that's right. Yes. Yeah, Hail Mary didn't pay off for him taking the stand and all the witnesses that contradicted his statements. Yes. Yep, exactly. Gosh. I feel for Buster at times too. And then some, yeah, I don't know. I go back and forth on that. Yep. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Hi, Sandy Grant. Welcome. How are you? She says very smartly, real liars often believe their lies. Yes. Very good point. Oh, wow. Oh, another really insightful comment here. Paw was a child he once loved. Paul was a child he now had no use for. Wow. What a really great statement, Sandy Grant. Sandy Gant. Wow. Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. Wow, that's very interesting. Thank you. Huh. For those of you who don't know, the prosecution made a big deal about Alex calling Paul Paw, saying that it was just at some certain point in his testimony when, he called him Paw for the first time, and basically in doing so, in Mags instead of Maggie, that he was trying to endear the jury to his, identity as a father and a loving husband. And, that was up to the jury, and the jury spoke. Yeah. Yeah. This is a really good point too. Once again, Sandy Gant says, well, thank you, Watts. I think that's how he made himself cry. I 100% agree. I didn't equate that to the Paw and the Mags, but I think you're totally right on that. But the spirit of what you're saying in there is, I 100% agree. Yep. And Julie says, Paul was getting in too much trouble. As Handsome said, he had to go. Yep, that's right. Yeah. Really great comments here. Yes. And Mag was a high school sweetheart. Yep. And then Maggie, her middle maiden and married last name, as he will formally sometimes call her, is the wife that he, just like his son, no longer has a use for, because she's just getting in his way of living a hedonistic life of simply seeking out that which pleases him. Really disgusting. Yeah, and Gregory says, if my own father had committed an unaliving of my mother and brother, I would have made no bones about expressing my outright anger towards my father and given interviews about it. I think certainly in regards to Buster. Yeah, that's where I feel very split. Of course, I feel compassion for somebody who lost their mother and their only brother, but then exactly what you're saying, Gregory. Yeah. Yeah. So, all right, guys. Well, I got to peace out because I got to go to work tomorrow, but I will be doing another live stream sometime this weekend. I don't know if it'll be, I usually like doing Friday nights, but that's tomorrow, but it's possible tomorrow, Saturday or Sunday. So I will be posting that. And again, if you don't get the notifications and you would like to get the notifications, whether you're here in chat or watching the replay, please email me at wattsobsession@gmail.com. And I will put you on the email list. So great to see you guys. Love you all. Please stay safe. Come back soon. Hope you enjoyed the live stream. Please hit like on your way out to support the channel. And I appreciate you. And please take care. Until next time, justice for Mallory. And we're happy that justice was served for all of those in a way that Alex Murdaugh has wronged.
What bridge is it? Paul, what bridge is this? Paul, what bridge?
911, where's your emergency?
We're in the boat.
Okay.
We have someone missing.
Okay. Hang on 1 second.
Think about me one more time before you go. Someday you'll know. Someday you'll know. You know what I'm going to say? I've been feeling this way for far too long. And now you're gone.
On February 24th, 2019, a boat crash on Archers Creek in South Carolina took the life of Mallory Madison Beach, who at the time was only 19 years old.
What bridge is Paul? What bridge is this? Hey, I'm with Department of Natural Resources. Who was driving the boat? Right, I'll fix up. The last time I grabbed my girlfriend and got down in the bottom of the boat, Paul was driving. Paul was driving? Yes. I begged and begged and begged and begged to let me drive.
1 second.
Uh-huh. And where were y'all coming from? Paul. Huh? Paulky. Paulky? Okay. And Paul was driving, not Connor?
Someday you'll know.
Awesome. So everyone take care. And oh, hey, I just see some people chatting about, exchanging numbers or emails or whatever in chat. You don't put your own number or email or anything in chat. You do have my email, watsobsession@gmail.com. If you do need to get in touch with somebody else who is, in this channel community, shoot me an email. I will try to get to it as soon as possible, and I can connect you. If it's okay with both people, I will be happy to connect people without, everyone else knowing how to get a hold of you, because people are freaking weird. So everyone stay safe, and I'll see you next time.